Right, so this is the trailer for Friar's Fables. And the idea came to me when I was watching a Catholic podcaster called Michael Mapp on The Remnant. And he was saying how it was something to do in France, and he was on about the Vendée, the saint, well, not this, not saints, they're the history of the Vendée. And he was saying how they vitalized themselves with stories of the lives of the saints and things that we tell our children at bedtime to keep the faith alive. And I was sat there thinking, I don't actually know that many stories of saints that I can just rattle off when it comes to bedtime. You know, I can do a Red Riding Hood or a Goldilocks without thinking about it. That actually annoyed me a bit at myself. Like, why don't I know these, that I can do it in that same way? So I started reading up the different lives of the saints, and then I started thinking, well, surely I'm not the only father who has this issue. And then from there, it sort of steamrolled into, I'm going to make something that takes the lives of saints, these great examples, these heroes of the church, and puts it into that story, a bedtime story format for children. And then from there, it was, well, I need a vehicle for why these stories are being told. And I love history and the sort of 15th century War of the Roses. Before we get into the Reformation, I can get away with being very overtly Catholic about these things without worrying about the messy waters of the Reformation. So it was right. The characters in the 15th century, and we'll go from there and explore the saints that we can, with helping Christopher, being played here by Matthew, through his trauma of that very tumultuous time of the War of the Roses.
Authenticity was one of the things that was very much paramount in my mind. Because, to be honest, there's so much stuff here in the content sphere that just really isn't, and it annoys me when I see it. So kind of put your money where your mouth is. But also, if you really go in with a mind of authenticity and trying to capture the time period that you're setting it in as close as you can, then it just makes it real. And I always have the adage of 97% of anything that you do in a film or a play, the audience won't know you've done it, but if you don't do it, they know it's missing. And that has very much been my approach to this. I mean, not having that many shots of the fact that I've got a pouch here underneath my scapula, but I've still got it. The shoes are real shoes. They haven't got a modern sole, and things like this also make it easier for the actors to really get into their roles. I've done some great period pieces where all the extras were reenactors, and that meant for me as being the only actor amongst a load of reenactors doing their thing, it was like time travel, and it really improved my performance. And in order to do that, I had to go look through manuscript images of the time, read some really obscure things. I mean, I think I've read some things on women's sleeping habits with wearing hairnets and bonnets and the like, and why they did that. I read a little bit of an Italian manuscript on the beauty regimes or whatever, just in case it came up, and I kind of went down many rabbit holes, and also obviously things that are actually to do with this project. But that's my love of history coming through, that I just pull at that thread, and how can I make that real? I haven't got a time machine, and I really want one, so I can make it on film, and that's as close as I'm going to get.
So I'm a boy who had his village attacked, his mind lost, and he's just scared all the time. When I come in the convent, I've got the bed that I sleep on, but I don't have any good dreams. I only have nightmares about what happened at the attack of my village, and Friar Alban, he tells me stories about the saints. Gradually, I work on and feel better, like a father with a upset son. So that's basically my character.
Yeah, you're definitely dealing with a traumatic situation and how to process that information. Yeah, and as you said, learning from those stories and how to apply that to yourself to help you through. It's very much a story of hope, isn't it? Because that's a theme going through. You got hope, and like these saints who had these situations, they were able to go through following the light, that light of hope, that light of Christ, and being able to come out the other end the better for it. Even if that other end meant they had to go through martyrdom or whatever, but they still came out the better for it.
And if you can't get this, for example, this might happen in your schools a lot. There's this bigger kid who, for me, is the nightmare, and you as the smaller kid as me. And this big kid is making you scared, basically being a bully, and your father, Friar Alban, is gradually helping you to deal with it. And then soon, once you're all better and you're not scared anymore, you fight for right.
Yeah, you can apply these lessons. They're timeless lessons, which is the main thrust of it. But I mean, another reason of setting this time is it makes it look like those sort of secular stories, like the Little Red Riding Hood, Jack and the Beanstalk, and all that. So it ties it in with the stories that people are familiar with as well, that story tale aesthetic. But it is very much timeless, that you can apply to your everyday life, and say in school situations that arise.
So it's basically like a program for kids and adults. This is basically a whole program of saint stories, but it's basically like fairy tales.
It's for the family. You can sit down and watch it, because that's another thing. As a dad, the amount of rubbish that you watch, it's good to have one that you can sit and see the layers as an adult as well. So it is a family program, which is something that is lacking at the moment. Not enough family ones are made. They're either purely for children or purely for adults. There are very few that you can sit down together. So that's another goal of this as well.
And we're trying to get more children to be Catholic and become more in the Catholic faith. So less children are either don't believe in any god, or the paganism. So we tried to get those paganism children and those non-believing any god children to become the right faith, Christianity.
Nice further there, Matt.
I'm playing Sister Matilda, and I think the most important thing about this project is that it's beginning to build upon, to be able to reach children who have no idea they don't have an anchor, they don't have anything to hold on to, so they don't have the level of understanding of faith. So through storylines and through characters that they can link to and understand and link to their imagination, they can begin to see that there's someone there through Friar Alban and through the journey with Christopher and then other characters, and through the stories that will ignite their imagination about all the different saints, and there are so many, they'll begin to understand that they're part of the story and that they do have an identity and they do have a purpose and that their life matters. And I think there's so many children out there who are really isolated and quite broken. And I also think it's wonderful for children who come from families with faith, because it obviously builds their knowledge and their understanding about the saints and about Christianity in the most beautiful, imaginative way, which is the best way of storytelling, which is what the Lord used, because it links us all together in our humanity. So that's why I'm involved with the project, and I think it could be a really beautiful, and the more and more characters that join, I can see it beginning and unravelling into something really, really, really wonderful. You know, like a train taking off to somewhere fantastic. So that's the goal.
So I'm playing Friar Alban, a Dominican friar, who on his route of travelling between different communities, providing the sacraments, is when he comes across this young lost lamb in dire straits. And of course, he is there to care for this area, it's his community. So he takes him to the local convent to heal. And then from there, the story unfolds of what's happening to him and what he's having to deal with. Friar Alban himself, he is a very fatherly man, as all priests and religious should be. And he knows that a good way, much like Jesus, to teach is through stories. And that's why he's honed in on the lives of the saints. It's sort of in my own head canon, he was probably gifted a copy of the Golden Legend at some point and has read through it so many times that the book's fallen apart by now. And seeing all the great wonders and mysteries and examples throughout our lives and all the things that trouble us, he's honed in on all these people have done it before. So we've got our guide, we've got our blueprint, these great heroes of the faith. So that's his focus. It's to teach, to be caring, to be fatherly, and to bring out the best in the people he meets. For this project, we need support. It's going to be a big endeavour, which is going to be so worthwhile because it's going to give these stories to children to be able to just have in their heads, to bring out in their day-to-day lives. So they won't have to think about it, they'll know them, and these things will be automatic. So it's going to be a big project, I hope, and I really, really know that all your support will be worthwhile. You'll see it on the screen. If you see from the trailer already, we've managed to do quite a bit on a shoestring, as I'll say. So we want to be able to do so much more and be able to pay for each episode to be made to the full and really bring it to you in the manner that it deserves to be done.
Thank you so much for supporting Friar's Fables, and we'll see you soon.